All right. Welcome to Talking in Stations. I am Matt Earl, News Chief for Imperium News. Today we have a special show where we're going to bring back one of our great guests, Vince Draken, to talk to us about the Tribute War and get us up to speed on what's been going on and possibly what will happen in the future. And also as a guest, we have Globby, who is formerly from Code, and Code specializes in high security ganking of freighter pilots. And recently there was some, I don't know if it was controversy, something about people getting banned, and we'll find out more about that. We also obviously have Tiberius with us, and so we'll go over some of the news and get you caught up. So Tiberius, how you doing?
Pretty good. It's been a pretty good week. Lots of fun shooting into those spaceships. Lots of stuff to write about in the news. So it's been a pretty good week.
You had a terrific article on what's that? Eve News 24.
The one you can't mention on this channel. Yes. I had a pretty good article on that one. I had a lot of good. Well, it sounds really narcissistic of me saying yes. I had a pretty good article on it because I verified my own work as being great. No, it was. I had a lot of positive feedback on it, and I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. And as the way things have happened, news has moved on even faster since about the Tribute War. So there should be some more stuff coming out shortly about that. And I'm pretty sure Vince can probably talk a bit about that later as well.
Yeah, definitely. We get it right from the source, which is awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of good. Well, it sounds really narcissistic of me saying yes. I had a pretty good article on it because I verified my own work as being.
Oops. Gotta turn off that sound. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is go through this news, and let's see. So in Eve this week, we had the Black Friday sales that came from CCP, and that was just a big Plex sale. You know, we haven't seen prices like that, I guess, ever. And
that's pretty good stuff. Yep, lots of people buying Plexes, and hopefully the prices will be crashing down a little bit. So hopefully we can get some cheap Plex this week.
Yeah, and the 07 show is tomorrow at 2000. What's that? 8 o'clock? 6 o'clock?
Yeah, yes, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Are you going to be on that one?
I'm not going to be on that one this time. I've only been on it twice, doing some stuff for Event when we did some of the celebrity matches. But we haven't done that. There is a section tomorrow where the Event guys are on it, but I'm sadly not on it for tomorrow.
Oh, any indication on what they're going to talk about? Were there announcements made at Eve Down Under?
No, and actually finding out information about what was going on from Eve Down Under has actually proven really bloody difficult.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's an issue of, was it Amsterdam? Some announcements were made, and people, have to hear them after everybody else gets a jump on them there. So there was, if you're not streaming it, is it fair to make major announcements at these places?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't say sort of the major announcements and things that were at Amsterdam or Eve Down Under, but usually the stuff they do at the player events, and certainly from when they come over to and CCB come over to Nottingham, it's usually just like little things. Like at Nottingham, they showed off the new character sheet, which had kind of been on the test server anyway, but it just gave an opportunity for sort of them to say, hey, this is what we've done, and get some immediate feedback for features that are just about ready to go out. So,
well, last time, though, they announced the new launcher, which was, I think, kind of a big deal, right?
Well, we kind of knew about the new launcher already, and we knew it was kind of coming, but it was CCP Fox 4, and that did go up on YouTube afterwards, but it was CCP Fox 4 more or less talking about the development process of it, as opposed to sort of saying, hey, look at this new launcher, because again, we'd already kind of seen it in some of the dev blogs and things.
Yeah, well, this year I think, I don't know if they announced it at Amsterdam, but part of the other news that's out is that the new Mac launcher is coming out. I think it's entering beta, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's
At
funny.
last.
I actually started playing Eve because I was looking for a game I could play on Mac. And then because Eve was so cool, I switched to PC and ended up not using Mac at all for anything else, which is like, wow, talk about the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, you're a skin enthusiast. There's new skins apparently.
Yes, there's well, apart from the fact that all the classic ship skins are now ridiculously cheap. Like we're talking $1 on some of these skins and things. There's a whole bunch of new ones using the brand new system that they were talking about at Eve Vegas, which I think you actually probably know more about because you saw that presentation. But the brand new system that they're using to create skins, which gives you things like the Star Captain, they're also giving a whole bunch of Christmas skins to the Amar. No, not really. They're giving them all to the Galente this time. Thank God for that. So thankfully, you can, all you Galente fans out there will finally have some nice looking skins to buy for yourselves as well.
Yeah. Well, it seems like these days they're getting a lot of stuff. Maybe their ships are, among the best for new players and that sort of thing. It seems like Minmatar need to have their turn pretty soon.
Yeah, totally. Because, there was so much stuff coming out for the Amar. But a lot of them were just like variations on a singular color. You had the Cold Iron stuff, which was basically a matte black, and then the Crimson Harvest one, which was basically a red and black. But these new skins actually have sort of patterns designed into them and things, so it's pretty good.
Yeah. Right, and so there's a bunch of other stuff, but you can always check that out on the EVE Online forums. There is a thread started by CCP Phantom called This Week in EVE, and this is a great resource for anybody to catch up on what came from CCP, what came from the lore or the in-game news, and stuff that players have done as well as in there as far as meetups and stuff like that. What you won't get in there is the political news, which is really the most interesting draw for anybody who's been around EVE Online or like to hear about what the players get up to, because it's so epic how many people like tug a war through territory and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So let's get to actually our features. I'm really excited to have Vince here, and but first we're going to talk to Globby, formerly from Code. And how are you doing, Globby?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Really good. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? I'm not that familiar with what Code gets up to. Obviously, I know the basics and stuff, but what's your gameplay all about?
So, as of now, my gameplay is just posting on Reddit, and I'm probably one of the best Reddit posters on our Eve right now. Have been for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Farming that sweet Reddit karma, yeah.
Hell yeah. But in game, I gank and high sec a lot with Code, sometimes with Goonswarm Federation and Minilove.
Oh, right. Minilove stands for what?
The Ministry of Love. It's their high sec ganking arm.
Oh, and that's is that exactly what it's for? Minilove is a ganking outfit, or do they do other things like espionage or something?
No, they're primarily just ganking, as far as I know. I mean, I haven't been in Minilove for over a year, so.
All right. So what brings you to the show today? That was something that happened yesterday, was it? Where some Xcode members were banned?
Yeah, about a month and a half ago, actually a month and 4 days ago, there's a completely standard Code fleet run by Loyal Anon, who was permanently banned. CCP allowed him to create a new account, Stunt Flores style, and start from scratch. So he was leading fleets again regularly. And sometime in the middle of his ganking fleet, he told everybody to gank a certain nomad. And unbeknownst to everybody else, CCP thought that something went on. So, at the time, we had no idea that anything special had occurred. I mean, we calculated the math. We had more than enough DPS required to kill the target. During the gank, everything felt normal. We thought nothing of it. And the reason, and CCP, when they banned all of us, they didn't tell us anything. All they said was in the ticket that you delayed Concord. Now, I don't want to get into GM correspondence too much, but
one quick question: the delaying Concord is basically against the rules, and that is that you run around the system hiding from Concord, delaying their effectiveness so that you could destroy ships with impunity. Right? That's the crime about it.
Well, evading Concord and delaying Concord is different. Delaying Concord is a very new rule, whereas evading Concord has been on the books for forever, basically. And there used to be a way. I'm the reason they created that new delaying Concord rule. I ejected a bunch of shuttles and then boarded a ship while I was criminal, and then they would have to kill all the shuttles before they would kill me. So that's when they put in the delaying Concord rule. But you can't even do that You can't even do that anymore because they don't let you board ships while you're a criminal. So as far as I know, and as far as everybody in code and everyone in Minilove, every ganker that I've ever spoken to does not know how to delay Concord for an entire fleet. Like, we have no idea how this could even happen. So we get to the point where CCP bans all of us without telling us any information about the situation. We're obviously really confused. And the way we found out which kill it was we got together with everybody who got banned. It was pretty easy to find out the kill because Jason Kujan, who runs 12 ganker accounts, only had 11 of his banned. So we were able to find out, okay, what 11 of these were on what kill mail, where the 12th one wasn't. And we basically found the one kill that it was responsible for. And it felt like a completely normal gank. And, I care a lot more about it than other people do because I kind of see the implications that it would have for the future, because Concord isn't as solid as you would think it is. Concord is very buggy. Every once in a while, there's a freighter gank that goes fine, except one person never gets killed by Concord. They shot the freighter, they went GCC, and Concord never came to kill them. And that implication, that's not intentional. We're not trying to do that. It just happened. So it's scary to think that if the game breaks, you can get banned for doing something. And, on our end, we didn't even see anything wrong happen. So there's a lot of the people in code right now don't even want to gank freighters right now. I mean, we have people who have 400 billion, 500 billion assets. It's just too risky to go out and gank.
Yeah. Well, that's usually the way that CCP operates, right? If there's bans, they don't give a lot of explanation on why exactly you were. But you guys did some, it looks like on Reddit, you put together this giant spreadsheet that looks like...
oh my God, that chart.
Yeah.
Like with all the arrows and everything going along, it's like, wow, that's a lot of thought that's gone into that.
I mean, I got to thinking, right, the only way I could ever reverse this is if I could go to the community and prove that we didn't delay Concord, which I pretty much did. If you think about it logically. And the way you have to think about it is, well, we have about 580,000 damage, a little more, and the freighter has 500,000 EHP. Yeah. So we obviously have enough DPS to kill it. And in order to get to 500,000 damage, it'll take about 20 to 24 seconds, which is within the timer of before Concord kills you, to kill it. And if you also line up when the freighter died to when the ganking ships died, it lines up as perfectly as you could imagine it, as if it was a normal standard gank. There is no time discrepancy between when the gank started and when the gank ended. I mean, there's no evidence to suggest that ganking ships lasted even 1 second longer than is within the allowed parameters, which is really scary because, I mean, that's basically proof that nothing wrong happened, and I don't know how more to convince anyone else.
Do you feel like public pressure helps in this case? I mean, is that really the best way? Doesn't it just get CCP even angrier at you? And
well, from my experience, I've been permabanned twice. Both times, those permabans were overturned because I cried on Reddit. Both times. I know of many other EVE personalities who, after getting permabanned or suspended pending investigation, have either written a TMC article or posted on Reddit and gotten either the bans completely gone back to normal, or went from a perma ban to like a 30-day ban, like when I'm in space when he did the whole bounty thing. Like, complaining on Reddit is probably the most effective thing you can do, especially if you can show proof. But with the current like stigma against ganking in the community, I don't think it's going to help us at all. I just want to kind of establish a precedent so CCP doesn't really continue banning people for no reason if it becomes a problem in other parts of the game.
I wonder if it's even worse now that there's like a bunch of new people that, they may be a little more ginger in protecting high sec right now because there's new people. I wonder if that plays against you guys at this time.
It probably does, considering that we've never had issues with this, even when Concord ended up being delayed in situations. Like, we've never eaten bans for this before up until now.
So do you think it might be more stringent because of the timing right now?
Oh, I definitely do think so. Yeah, I definitely think that they want to discourage things that don't fall within their belief system they want to get more players. Obviously, if they feel that something is detracting players from their game, taking players away from their game, they don't want that in their game. And I think they feel that ganking does that.
That what you said really sets up some interesting things. Tiberius, maybe you have an opinion on this, but and I think Johnny Pugh kind of hits on it here. So one of the ways to protect yourself against getting banned is to become popular in the community, and then cry out, plea for their help to leverage you back into the game, which is kind of a strange precedent that CCP would set up by not going through their own process, but listening to public pressure.
I would think that would be a bit of an unusual precedent for that if like somehow making yourself valuable to the community or making a shout. Maybe if you put together a reasoned argument, which you did from what I can see from the post that you put up, but then maybe the right person sees that and goes, well, yeah, okay, that's totally possible, and then goes away and argues it on your behalf. But I don't think making yourself valuable in the EVE community necessarily protects you from the bans. I mean, just recently we had like a big old swathe of people that did, a lot community-wise. I1ISK, EVEBet,
Adrix.
Trillionaire, Adrix, all that got banned. Like Adrix, EVE Casino, like all of them. I mean, okay, yes, there were the gambling sites, but at the same time, they funded a lot of events. They, ignoring the whole war thing, because I think that's but that's a whole topic we can just go down all by itself. But so I disagree with necessarily the whole being valuable in the community.
Then again, he's been through it twice, and we haven't.
Yeah,
and you also have to think of it from the point of view, like, can you think of any group in EVE right now that you would consider the bad guys? Like,
I know who I always think of.
Any group of the bad guys? I mean, most people would call goons the bad guys, but they're not more the bad guys. They're just like an opposing group. I mean, who are the truly evil people? I mean, there's no bad people really in this game. The closest I would say, maybe I'm biased because I'm in Code, but I think Code are, the bad guys of EVE. I mean, we have our whole.
I'd agree with that because
going along with everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that as well because it isn't just a case of necessarily the actions that Code does. And I took a couple of evenings out to go ganking with Code once just to see sort of how it all works.
You make it sound so romantic.
I know, right? And it opened my eyes to actually how much work that actually has to go into it. But it's not just that activity that I think people get bent out of shape of it. It's also the public facing side of it, like the James 315 stuff, and the writing that he does on blogs, and the fact that whole persona and everything is reciprocated, and that's something that people can latch onto, and that's something that people go against. Because oh no, it's those Code guys. God damn you, James 315! How could you do this to me? You see what I mean? That's kind of what people go with. So yeah, I think you're totally right on that.
Well, what's interesting about this is I was approached by a person from EVE Casino named Adrix who said, "What do you think about raising a big stink about being banned because I'm getting no answers from CCP, and I've worked hard for this community," and he has. should I raise a big stink? And my advice to him was like, yeah, I don't think that ever helps. So I got to go back to him and say, I may be wrong about this.
There are a ton of, I don't know, there's a ton of precedent that, making an article, writing an article, whether it being the Mitani.com or making a Reddit post or an Evo post, that helps if your goal is to get unbanned. Maybe it hurts your relationship with CCP, but what you can look at all these people when I am in space. You can look at me multiple times. You can look at James 315, who was permabanned for literally nothing, right? He just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and he got permabanned. You can look at all the the whole Erotica 1 fiasco, where not only did Erotica 1 get banned, but also a dozen other people who had absolutely nothing to do with the bonus round got permabanned. Half of them being scam victims of Erotica 1. Right? The people who got scammed got banned just because they happened to be in the wrong channel.
They got banned for being victims.
Yeah, they got banned for being victims, basically. I mean, all these people who got banned, their issue isn't with the actual ban itself. Their issue is with the precedent it sets that they could just get permabanned or 30-day banned in the future for something, uncontrollable, something out of their hands, which is the scary part. Not, I can eat a 30-day ban. It already took them 22 days to respond to my ticket that I sent it on day one of the ban. I'm I've already waited. I just don't want this strike on my account.
So the takeaway is that CCP is cracking down on kind of griefing practices in the form of ganking and high sec, you think, and actually posting it on Reddit may help if nothing else does. Right.
Right. We're backed into a corner. We're at the point where we have a bunch of people quitting the game, unironically quitting the game because they can't, in good faith, support this game. Because when you ban 20 accounts and everybody in that community, which is ganking, is a very tight knit community. We all know each other. There's some smaller groups out there that don't necessarily interact with us, but Code and Minilove are pretty close. And we talk to each other a lot. And so when all of us are together and we all agree that this is kind of like a bullshit situation, I mean, you have people just straight up quitting the game. We had a guy who already biomassed his characters. We have 2 new players who we haven't seen since 15 days ago. 2 brand new players who joined Code who just quit the game. I mean,
yeah. Okay. Well, let me just talk a little bit more about something else, and then we'll wrap it up. But what's this is legitimate gameplay in your opinion? Obviously, wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't. But what's the kick out of it? It takes organization, as Tiberius was saying. But why do you enjoy this sort of thing?
Why do I enjoy it? I enjoy having an impact on the game, right? So when you kill some NC freighter's entire fleet in his jump freighter, it feels good to have, a group of 30 guys take out an entire fleet, an entire tier 3 fleet. So much of it's like a fishing game, right? You're scanning all these places looking for big fish, and when you finally get a good fish to catch, right, it feels good when you kill it.
That's a very good analogy. So it's like fishing.
And yeah, it's like fishing. I mean, you get satisfaction out of it. I mean, there's a
lot of, I guess there's a lot of work in picking your gear properly and figuring out how much time you have to do it. And I mean, that must be where the gameplay is.
There's a lot of gameplay. I mean, even finding these guys, even getting there in time. I remember when hyperdunking existed, right? We would go, hyperdunking was just basically 3 or 4 guys could take out a freighter over 20 minutes. It was all, can we kill it before people show up? Can we get ready? I mean, Minilove has to deal with this on a daily basis. When anti-ganking was all up their butts all the time, they had to kill the freighter before they got enough guys there to rep it. Otherwise, it would be terribly inconvenient to either loot or even try and gank at that point. So it's like a race against the clock. How fast can we kill it before all the help arrives?
I think it's funny that CCP wanted to preserve that ability for alphas to participate in that sort of thing. That was kind of a big deal, right? They were saying
not really, because we have better tools to do that, right? We can make a trial account and we can get a T2 catalyst on that trial account in only a couple days, right? So we can get, no one counts Tech 1 catalysts. Tech 1 catalyst alpha is like half of a Tech 2 catalyst, and it does less than half the damage. So it's very irrelevant And the optimal range on catalysts really matter because we usually do warp in and land within 1 to 4 kilometers off. So having a 1.6 kilometer optimal versus a 2.5 kilometer optimal is huge. And that's the reason like Tech 1 catalysts are irrelevant to ganks. So alpha accounts are effectively irrelevant to freighter ganks. Now, other ganks like minor ganking, definitely alpha accounts can have an impact, but
I think the overall theme, though, was a lot of people were concerned that Code would be able to use these alphas and gank, forever without any cost to them. And then,
what's the cost? The cost being you have to pay a Plex a month to be able to gank.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that considered a cost? That you have to sub your account?
I suppose, yeah. But the reverse came true, and that was that CCP was like, well, we don't want to limit them, so we're not going to bar them from ganking.
Yeah,
right?
They totally shouldn't.
Yeah. So,
right, but they also held the threat of locking them in the future whenever they want. I mean, I wanted to make a cool alpha clone ganking group or whatever with a couple people and just gank stuff in alphas all day. Like have everybody in like a big group like Pandemic Horde, everybody make an alpha account, get Tech 1 catalysts, we're just gonna kill stuff. Why would anyone even try and attempt to do that? Because as soon as you become relevant, CCP is just gonna lock you out. So it's like another thing that comes back up to CCP. Just I don't want to whine too much, but it's just it feels like it's stacked against me. I don't know what to do.
But I
have all these cool ideas I would want to potentially do, but
I've never seen ganker tears.
For me, I mean, I'm kind of sold on the gameplay aspect of it because I've kind of been involved with it, and the amount of organisation and setting everything up is just mind blowing. When a lot of people just seem to think it's like, oh, get a bunch of dudes, walk to this thing, blow this up, and hey, there's thing. But it's not. It's bouncing around. It's getting the right spot. It's finding your target, making sure that target, doesn't get through gates, doesn't have like emergency jump outs, all that sort of jazz. But High Shot, for the critics out there, High Shot in chat said ganking should be banned in high sec, but the people doing the ganking should be allowed to do it in null sec. What would you say to banning ganking in high sec? Why shouldn't it be banned in high sec?
I don't have any. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it is CCP's game. I just wish they were more open about it. If CCP said that ganking has a proven impact on hurting the game and significantly reducing the amount of people who play the game, you can't argue against that logic, right? Not even me. Even though I love the ganking gameplay, you can't argue against that. The problem with ganking in no-sec or anywhere else is high-sec ganking is the only place in EVE where true piracy actually exists. People gank people for their cargo. People gank people for their notoriety. It's the only place where you can make a true profit from PvP other than like mercenary contracts. It's like the one place in EVE that feels like the open sandbox truly exists.
Awesome. It was a little bit of a defense of ganking, and also kind of a pleading of your case to the public about getting banned in a time where it looks like CCP is cracking down a bit stronger. Thanks for coming on the show, Globby. Appreciate it very much.
Yep, no problem.
No problem. So thanks. So we'll go ahead and good luck to you. We'll look out for that Reddit thread and see how that goes. Next, we're going to have Vince Draken on in just a second. We're going to catch up on Tribute and the stuff that's going on there. We'll be back right after this one little break.
This game, you're not ready for it.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment, and you're seeing intrigue, the espionage, the alliances form, the power that shifts around, and it's amazing to watch.
Right, this is primary, Julia, secondary.
Simple actions can have massive effects.
You can cooperate with people, compete with them, make friendships, deceive them, betray them.
It's
amazing to think that it's all just other players.
All wings for 234. See the flag off. Burn off.
More players start coming. It just starts this complete cascade of actions, and you don't know what's going to happen.
It is a free-for-all. We'll get locked up and shot instantly. People start dying left, right, and centre. It's just something that you can't get anywhere else. It's just the rush like no other.
All good moves is happening.
Everybody's on this journey and writing their own stories, and that is probably the simplest way I can describe Eve.
Things continue to change and evolve. It's awesome. I love it. Part of Eve.
Oh, and I think the sound's muted.
Yes, it turns out I missed a button. So let me do those introductions again. Well, actually, we'll hear from them. But Vince, welcome to the show. Are you there?
Hello, thank you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you. Thanks. You've been leader for Northern Coalition for a while now, right?
Yeah, I think it's 6 years.
Yeah, terrific. And Killa B is also joining you, and he is from Pandemic Legion.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. And jumping into the channel with us is Johnny Pugh, a guest of the show. So he'll be along for the ride. First, we're going to start with Tiberius, who's going to bring us up to speed on the tribute situation.
So we have now finished the second full month of fight since Northern Coalition, along with Pandemic Horde, initially invaded 2 months ago. The fighting has been for about 6 weeks or so, up until the first part of this month. Certainly, was very brutal. There was fleets going out on pretty much a daily basis as NC and Pandemic Horde, along with some other allies that joined as time went on, hitting CO2 space daily. Test came down to assist CO2 in their defense, and they fought pretty much like lions for 6 months, and they not to say they don't now, they still do, but for a long time it seemed like there was to be no progress made. And then there was a series of events that happened over the course of the last couple of weeks that seemed to have started tipping the balance of power in favor of the invaders. And finally, after all that time, systems have started to fall. We had the battle for MTAC OEE8 last weekend, where some 3,100 people was involved in that, including 1,200 CO2 and test people. The rest were made up of participants on the invading side, where the crucial infrastructure hub for MTAC OEE8 was killed, allowing the might be the final assault on the capital system of CO2 and maybe even their Keepstar. So we will see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks, I guess.
So it seems like the war is just finally, after being a tug of war that kind of went back and forth, it's finally breaking open, right? Like it's the events now seem to be concrete and a lot of territory being taken over.
Yep. Yeah, totally. One whole constellation has been taken, and the central constellation for Tribute is under heavy attack at the moment as well.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with Vince. Why did you decide to attack CO2's territory, Tribute?
It's probably quite a good question, and probably Reddit tells one story, and obviously I will tell another, which is what usually happens.
That's why we're going right to the source.
Yeah. Well, it was two things. The first one was that CO2 is a competent group to shoot, so that obviously was why the eyes looked over there initially. But then they also decided to, I guess, buddy up with Project Mayhem and Snuff, who again are two really good low-tech alliances, who were shooting our R64s and just generally getting involved with stuff. So obviously then CO2 joining in, people then started to get a bit cheesed off that they could just try and come and piss in our Cheerios, as the saying goes, and then run away and nothing would happen to them. So that was kind of what aggravated it. And then a conversation took place between myself and Gobbins from Horde. And Gobbins had some aspirations to move Horde into an area like Tribute where they would be more centralized and I guess could be within one region, whereas they're split between like Pureblind and Fade at the moment. So that's how it started, and then so we agreed that we would go over there on that understanding, and that any stuff that he didn't use, like the stuff around UMI, we would. We have a lot of people that enjoy renting, whatever you want to call it, build supers for us, whatever you want to call it. We're quite interested too. So that's how it kind of started, and then obviously goalposts moved, whatever you want to call it. Patch notes arrived whereby jump range changes arrived, which then is ideal, given that then opens up a large part of Tribute from LowSec to be able to gank people pretty much whenever they want, and then just jump back to LowSec. So I think that changed Gobbins' mind quite a bit when it came to, well, actually, are they better off in Fade or are they better off in Tribute? Well, the obvious answer is Fade when it comes to jump ranges. So now we're in a position whereby that plan is all in the dumpster and CO2's leaving.
And that was the big reveal that came out on Reddit last night.
Sure was.
Did you have some information that you wanted to share, Tiberius, or is that all confidential?
I mean, I'm currently working on it. Yeah, I've listened to part of the meeting that happened last night between CO2 and all their CEOs. I haven't listened to all, but yeah, quite frank, straight in the middle of it. GigX said in the meeting last night with all his leadership that they've been fighting, and he was very proud of all the work that the leadership and CO2 have been doing in defending the territory, and how hard they've all fought. But with the invading forces now sitting on their doorstep and the Keepstar now under threat, the decision has been made to move everything out to NPC Garista space in Venal.
Yeah. The logical conclusion to this whole conflict is that CO2 does move out of their space, but also that their Keepstar gets destroyed. Is that going to happen, Vince?
Well, everybody wants a Keepstar kill mail, so I guess we'll have to give them one.
That's the best answer.
Yeah, this will be the first operational Keepstar that gets taken out, right? Instead of one that's in its infancy, before they become dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the first one that went down was the one that Project Mayhem went to put up, and the NWO denied them access to dropping such a thing in LowSec.
That's the New World Order, as it was rumored to be called.
That's correct, yeah. That's Killer Bee's thing.
Yeah, and that didn't actually get up and running. It was taken out before it was operational, but this will be the first one that is operational, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, no others have been done. So
it's possible that this guy could fight back and take out a bunch of super capitals, which makes it kind of a big event.
Well, yeah, we've already watched key groups around the map slowly start to try and sneak dreadnoughts across the map without either PL or us seeing them doing it. It's very difficult to move dreads around when you're part of a large organization and not expect people to see you doing it. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Well,
I guess we'll wait and see what happens.
Forces are gathering.
Vicarious said in the chat, why couldn't they just pack up the Keepstar and run? It takes a week to pull down a Keepstar, and whatever rigs you have on there, which generally tend to be almost expensive as the Keepstar itself, will be lost. But if in the meantime, during that week while you're pulling it down, if anybody comes along and reinforces it, then it stops it from being taken down.
We should say that Titans have been destroyed by Keepstars. In fact, Northern Coalition killed its own Titan.
We don't mention that one.
Sorry. In the form of PK, I guess. FC wasn't tanked properly at the time, and there was an accidental misfire. And yeah, casualty.
Was it accidental? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, so unfortunately, NC.
I don't think Vince reimbursed.
We have the dubious honor of being the first people to kill a Titan with a Keepstar and lose a Titan to a Keepstar. So, whoops.
So, Kill, you've been running this campaign from the PL side, is that right?
Yes.
You also ran famously ran World War B and or the Casino War, depending on your point of view. This is your second campaign in a row. Is that usual?
A lot of people I mean, it depends. I think it depends on the effort in the campaign. Now, World War B or Casino War was kind of intense, even though it didn't look like it from the outside. It wasn't like one of the more, it wasn't like an intense war from the outside, at least, I guess, because it was just like 1 or 2 major battles, and that's about it. But still, there was a lot of background work basically to be done. So yeah.
So you didn't get your first war.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how CN2 and Test have been fighting back. You have to pay them, even though they are losing now, but you have to give them a lot of respect for what they've done, because they've been holding back for a long time, and they have done an amazing job defending their space. At the end of the day, you're just facing something that they cannot match, and yeah, if you face something like NC.PL and all our friends, then there's nothing much you can do about it. To answer your question, no, it's not very usual to do 2 campaigns in a row, but I don't know, I like it, so.
Well, maybe the first one didn't drain you as much as a month-long campaign of combat and organization, because the Imperium.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I had a bit of a break in between in the first phase of this tribute war, when it was basically just NC and Horde attacking, and PL kind of didn't really do much. We showed up to 1 or 2 fights, but that's about it. We didn't really commit to the war. We were just staging in Venal at that point, doing our own thing up there a little bit. I took a little break from EVE there and played other games for I guess 3 or 4 weeks ish. Mm-hmm. And then then I came back, and EVE Vegas happened, and after EVE Vegas was over, I kind of just asked Vince, is like, yo, you still want to take tribute? And then he said yes, and then they are our allies, and if our allies want something, then we'll help them to get it. So then we decided to commit, and I decided to go for it, and yeah, and we committed.
Yeah. That's always been, Vince, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've seen a lot of things and been in charge of significant forces for a long time, but isn't PL's role usually that of a spoiler, where they're hired to kind of take a region by smaller alliances, and they kind of ensure that the people who want that region get in?
I mean, it depends on what your perception of PL is. I mean, I suppose I would be biased to answer that question, because being in PL myself, then it depends. Yeah, PL's historic history is that they were a mercenary alliance, and when you look back at the Bob War and stuff like that, they were hired guns, as it were, as we all were in World War B or the Casino War. But to be fair, the Northern Coalition War, being the old NC, as it were, mm-hmm. PL was also hired then, along with ourselves and a couple of other groups, to remove NC. So yeah, historically, that's what PL has largely been. But as the game changes, I mean, this is something actually that Killer and I spoke about only a couple of days ago. Is it's a little bit more difficult now to play that role, I guess. I mean, Killer will have his own opinion, but I think to be a mercenary, there's got to be someone who's prepared to point you at something and say, "Here you go, this is what you'll get as a benefit." There's not many people out there anymore that, need to do that. To be fair, I mean, if you look around the map now, there's enough people that were big enough. I mean, it all comes down to blobs at the end of the day, as has this war, or super caps, and you don't really need. For example, you take NC Dot away, or you take any of the other alliances away, and leave either one of us on our own to fight a group such as Test and CO2, and the outcome will be the same. Numbers make a difference.
Yeah, a Test has 8,000 people, and CO2 has about 5,000 people or accounts, and those are huge numbers to go against.
They are, but I don't think looking at I don't generally post on Reddit an awful lot, or even do things like this very much. But that means nothing in my opinion. It doesn't matter how many people you've got in your alliance. For example, we could use the same argument against Horde. I mean, Horde has got a huge amount of people, but at best they will contribute 250, 300, 400 at a push, and that's about it. But that does not reflect the numbers that they have in their alliance.
So it's how many people show up is what you mean by the bigger blob.
Yeah.
And do you find this is? I think it's funny because more than ever I've seen this in NC. When you ping for a fleet, you get different numbers than if other people ping for a fleet.
I don't think that's any different to anywhere else. Killer B gets more people than, say, another PLFC because he's been the active campaign commander in PL now for quite some time. Likewise, if the Matani pings the goons, they all come with their buckets and spades. So.
Yeah. It just shows you like there's like even at this level of nullsec, there's FCs have different amount of draw on how many people they can motivate, which is interesting for people who aren't in nullsec and stuff. Just starting the game, it's like you get like lead FCs that end up being able to carry a place with their name and stuff, which is really interesting.
I mean, one of the interesting things about this current war, and admittedly, I've only been a veteran of Eve wars for the last sort of 4 years, so there's plenty of wars there that I haven't experienced. But I think this one has been very, very different, certainly from a lineman member point of view, because it's been going on like continuously for 2 months. Like it has been relentless. With the whole tug of war, and it's felt very different from any other war we've been in. And certainly before Aegis sovereignty, where you could, get a couple of hundred guys in Supers and Titans, roll through an entire region after dropping the SBUs in the space of a week, and capture the whole thing. This has been very, very hard fought, and I'm wondering if that has been kind of seen. Was that the expectations that the leadership of both PL and NC had when they were going into this fight? Did they expect it to go on for as long as it did? I'll throw that to either Vince or Killer.
I mean, from our point of view, I mean, I said earlier on, CO2 are they're a good alliance in comparison to some of the other nullsec alliances that are about today. In terms of pound for pound, what they put into fleet, there's no two ways about it. Likewise, Test are a different beast than they were maybe a year ago when they came up to take part in World War B. I wouldn't say that I was particularly impressed with them in comparison to now, because the way that they've been molded by Sapporo, Vili, and Progod and those. Is it's made them a different alliance. So stick those two groups together and back that up with the amount of people that they can put into fleets. You can't go into a campaign such as this one in a sovereignty system that you don't quite understand. Now, bearing in mind neither myself or Killer and the groups that we head up did really very much in Tosin in World War B. There was the M-O fight. Very similar to the last one, That was probably the only time we did any intosising whatsoever, and it was a case of 3,000 people were on our side, and there was a couple of thousand on the other side, and we used capitals to make sure we win the timer, and we've done the same again.
Has it been harder to use subcap fleets on the one hand, and then dual box and use capitals because the mechanics change?
Not really.
So
it depends on the individual. I mean, I guess for people in both PL and NC is that they've been used to doing that for a long time, whereas for other groups, it's probably quite difficult if you don't do it on a regular basis.
So it's a matter of practice. Like the new mechanics for the fighters aren't more time consuming, I guess.
They are, but again, it just depends on your I guess your setup, as in the way that your desktop or wherever you play on is set up, because I mean it's workable. I mean you watch both of us do it pretty easily. I mean we don't provide. I mean we can. I mean I think we had 380 people in M-O, but I think 180 of that was capitals from our point of view, and then there was 200 subcaps. So we don't. Everybody's pretty much able to dual box, or in some cases triple box, depending on who it is, pretty effectively for the most part.
Oh. Right. So what's next in this conflict for you guys?
Well, I mean, other than the keep star, I don't think there's much else left to do. I mean, there's some cleaning up to do, but there's a couple of timers due out this afternoon. But we've noticed that, given GigX's announcement, they've already started to take down their Cyanogen positives, so they're just going to make it easy for us.
Any word?
Do you think when we do reach that sort of stage, that will be the end of it? That's the end of the war. Or do you think CO2 pulling back to Venor is probably more of a strategic maneuver than just a complete throwing in of the towel?
It's a strategic move for them and only them. It's a what's the word? They're doing what suits them, and rightly so. I mean, for them to stay in M-O, I mean, they could stay in M-O. There's not a lot we can, until we actually assault that keep star, which we're not going to do lightly. That they were not really at any risk, so they've strategically deployed in the opposite direction to defend their friends. I guess was the message that they gave yesterday, that the tribute is done for now, quote unquote, and then they want to try and pitch their final battle to try and inflict damage on us on the keep star. I think that's from what was said yesterday.
Well, it seems like their smart move would be to, if they wanted to keep the war going, and I think they do. I talked to GigX not long ago, a couple days ago, and he was saying that the war wasn't over for them. But it seems like they would have to retreat from this theater and continue to fight in a different theater. And so there's some speculation on what that looks like, and that might be going into drone regions and hitting, just causing havoc over there and seeing if that causes a headache for Pandemic Legion or something like that. But I don't know.
There's a thing, like, the people that lose the war always have difficulties with claiming the war is over, because that would mean that they lost it. It was the same when the goons decided to go to Delve, and the Mittani claimed the war isn't over. The war is over when we have taken revenge on all these alliances that attacked us, right? Because if he would have claimed the war is over with them going to the south, then that would have mean they would have lost in that sense. So it's the same thing that GigX is doing now, in my opinion. That's all right. Like, you have to remain. The narrative towards your member base, you have to like remain very steady on that, and I don't blame them for that. I'm just saying, whatever they're gonna do from Vino, they might hit GOTG, they might hit Darkness and Co. They would be in the position to do that. They might hit into drones, like you said, but like as far as I think, like in my opinion, the goal was to take Tribute, and Tribute has been taken, or like it's in the process of being taken. I don't think they will do any major fighting back, except for the Keepstar, from Reno towards Tribute. They're gonna have new goals up there. They're gonna be looking at what are we gonna do here. Are we gonna hit Darkness because they helped NC and PL in the war? Are we gonna try to hit out to drones, as you said, because that could maybe cause headaches for PL or other groups that are involved up there or something? It's hard to tell. I just think that the tribute part is over, and then we'll see what he does next and what they aim for.
What's that mean for test? Are you guys
are
you going to roll through up to test, or?
I mean, that's something that we haven't made any plans in that direction. Willy, or at least Test seems to expect it, because Willy wrote that Test Alliance update that was also on Reddit, and he said they're prepared and they are ready to defend Vale. They are totally expecting us to push for Vale now that once we're done with Tribute. But yeah, whether or not we're gonna do, I say that every single time I'm on a show or something. People always think that we have these 6-month roadmaps or something, where we have these plans for 6 months in advance. That's not how it works. We're focusing on what's in front of us right now. We want to finish up Tribute. Then we're gonna have to look at the Keepstar, and then after that's done, we're gonna sit together and we're gonna make a call. That also depends on what CO2 is gonna do up in Vino, right? If they start to hit Darkness, or if they go their completely own way that might not even that we might not care about, then that opens up more options for us.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be interesting to see how everything starts playing out over the next few weeks.
Vince, you have any plans on test?
Oh well, no. I mean, exactly what Killer just said. I mean, people try and guess what we're going to do next, and make assumptions as to what we'll do next. I mean, it's like the whole, CO2 have deployed to. I've just seen someone write that CO2 have gone to Venal till PL get bored. I don't think people quite understand how ripe the North is in comparison to other parts of Eve right now. As Killer just said, it depends on what some of the other chess pieces do. If CO2 attack Darkness or if CO2 attack Horde, then clearly we'll be moving to Venal.
Cool. Do you guys like this new, Discord was this new tool that came on, I guess, this year, and it allowed people to mix in voice and chat channels from across the game very easily, and it's one of the main reasons that fleets from different places were able to coordinate so well and create such a big counter movement to the Imperium. And now there's the new Jabralon 5, which is statecraft Discord, and that's where a lot of diplomats will sit and talk to one another, or actually just kind of shut up comms. Do you guys like that? I've seen you both in there. Is it that kind of thing useful?
You mean statecraft or Discord?
Statecraft.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of cool. There has been rooms before. We call it the Blue Donut, for example. I don't know if you're in there too, but there's this room, the Blue Donut, where which we kind of it used to be a Skype channel, and then we kind of switch it over to Discord. In general, I like these kind of channels, and that includes statecraft, because whenever you have an issue or when you want to talk to a certain alliance, you can just look in the Discord server. Is there someone from that alliance here? And you can just hit them up and talk directly to the source instead of having to go through public channels and hey, who's the Diplo of your alliance? And then the Diplo, and I can just look, hey, who's the CEO of this alliance? Is he in this Discord? Yes, all right, cool. Now I can message with him, right? So yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's great, and it makes a lot of things a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good for, if you look at the situation in Tribute at the moment, is people have this persona that, we just decide one day, right, let's just go and talk to everybody that has ever worked with us and say, hey, do you want to get involved in this? Where actually, between me and Killer, we probably get hit up on a weekly basis from somebody saying, we'd quite like to look at what's going on at the moment. Can we come? Can we come play? So it's interesting from that point of view too. I mean, especially for wormhole travels, as we call it. To be able to someone to just say this is going to happen at this time. Do you want to come? That's been pretty useful, hasn't it, Killer? So.
Yeah. It's been used very often to, just to share timers, to ask for assistance maybe if they need some, or just generally forwarding timers towards us so we can third party on them or show up for them. It's pretty nice.
How did they do this back before Discord, Vince? How did you coordinate, these bigger campaigns? What did they look like?
Basically the PL and NC coordination is pretty straightforward because we share an IRC server. But when it goes to outside of just our two groups, we used Skype in the past for a lot of things. That would have been before Killer was in PL, but back in the day, as it were, like kind of when Shadu and all of those guys, when we were down south fighting like AAA and all those groups, we used Skype.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same concept, it's just different technology. Probably a lot more difficult.
Yeah, Skype's not very good in comparison to Discord for this type.
Yeah, Skype's a piece of shit.
Let's kick Skype. It's on the ground.
Please don't sue us, Skype.
It was actually quite funny. Killer, do you remember the World War B Skype channel? Like sometimes it used to be that broken. The little pen thing used to just continuously write as if someone was writing and no one ever was.
Yeah, it was awful.
Ghosts.
It was awful.
So Northern Coalition, did you pick that name, Vince? And do you regret it?
Yeah. Well, it kind of still gets it's a bit of a joke name, to be honest, from the old NC. I suppose, if I have to be honest, I don't suppose that when we decided to create this alliance that I thought it would be successful in any way, shape or form. So yeah.
All these years later, still here.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a bit of a joke name in comparison to, some of the other alliance names out there. We kind of took it as a joke and then ended up sticking with it.
It seems now like, when you hear Northern Coalition, the first thing you hear about is NC. You think about is NC Dot, not the old Northern Coalition that it was, made to make fun of.
That was a long time ago, though. So I think the population of Eve has changed so dramatically since the old Northern Coalition was around that some people probably don't even know who they are. So.
Well, real quick, both your thoughts on, and Johnny, you can jump into this last question, but on the alphas and how they're, going to affect the game.
It's not something that we, other than outside of the alliance, are really looking at the moment. It's really good for Horde. If you're an alpha out there and you need a place to go, Horde's the place. But from an alliance point of view, an alpha right now wouldn't fit in, I suppose would be the right word to use.
Would not fit in?
No. Well, I suppose they could. We could make it work, but I think the way that the alliance is set up, people probably just wouldn't enjoy it that are brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Capri wrote a really interesting post in his blog about the whole. Is it really good to direct all the new alpha clones into something like Brave or Horde or Karma Fleet or something? And I actually read that blog post, even though I'm not a very active blogger. And it was a really interesting read because, it depends on what the certain alpha player wants to do. But I feel like if the people ask, and there's a lot of people that ask that, how do I get into these 0-0 wars? How do I get into these 0-0 politics? I still think the best way is to join one of the new bro-friendly alliances. May it be Horde, Karma Fleet. I guess Test is alright. I'm not sure if Dreaded recruits alpha clones or not. And then also Brave is cool. So you have all these places you can go to, and most of these groups don't really have a very nice wiki. For example, the Horde doesn't have like a wiki kind of thing where the people can read up, but it's a community after all, so you can talk to people and you can ask questions and then you will get your answers. I don't think that it is like go here, take this ship, and then press F1, right? Like people are open to questions, and and it's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and the waffles one as well, the pancakes. If you like low sec warfare, because waffles mostly do low sec, and then pancakes is kind of the low sec nomad alpha clone alliance.
Johnny, do you have an opinion on that? What alphas are going to do in the game?
Well, I know they're bringing a lot more life to the game. When I'm flying around, I see more lower tier ships flying around, not just Tech 2, Tech 3 this, and you realize, oh, I'm playing with people who've been playing the game for years now. There's no more new blood, it feels like. But now it feels that way. I feel like there's new blood flying around. I can have more random events instead of everyone flying with an agenda, some secret up their sleeve. I've also seen alpha corps forming up, like ones led by a single Omega with a whole bunch of alphas, and people talking about alphas going into faction warfare. So I see a lot more of those. But overall, just more life, and I'm enjoying seeing more low tier ships around.
Well, I think it was CCP Mimic that posted a graph, and she's like, my favorite graph, and it just showed a huge spike in numbers. Actually, even activity, right? Like a lot of ships going up. They may not be expensive, but
yeah. I mean, we haven't quite gotten to sort of late 2012, early 2013 levels where the PCU was 60,000 people. But even I'm quite surprised that the PCU has gone from averaging around about 20,000 to now regularly getting about 40,000 quite happily. So I'm quite excited to see that when I log in the client in the evening.
They haven't even started advertising it yet.
No,
at least that's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's true. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, it looks like CCP is keeping their powder dry, so to speak, and will work out these kinks, and then about the spring, probably generate a lot of marketing material to try to bring in new players. I think the corporate invite system will probably be working. Is it up yet? Do you know, Tiberius?
What was that? The
corporate invite system that they said they wanted to do, where corporations can actually invite people into the game and get credit for it.
No, but
I think they just announced
in the
it.
past. They did. I mean, if they have done, I didn't see it, but I know what people used to do. Certainly in Brave, anyway, was that they had one of the buddy referral links, and I have seen actually. Now you mention it, it's popped into my head. I have seen a buddy referral link advertised. So where if you similar in the old way, but I think there's a certain criterion you get some in-game loot, which you get to play with if your alpha clone sticks around for a certain amount of time.
Awesome. All right. Well, Killer Bee, do you have one last thing to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that I really think alpha clones are great. I agree with Johnny, that it's that it brings a lot more life to the game, and even though like a lot of beta vets or older players, they might not care, but I really think that with the way the game currently is, if we would have 3 times the amount of players that we have right now, I think the game would feel way better, and this alpha clone thing is a step in that direction. So I really like it. I really just generally I'm really happy with the way that CCP, basically the last year of changes, in my opinion. Obviously there's always some changes that are questionable, but the overall way that CCP is going, in my opinion, is very good, and I like it compared to, for example, 2014, where everything looked grim and everything was kind of going downhill. Now I feel like we're on the right road, and I'm looking forward to see what's next.
Mm-hmm. Jay Alton here says that you get added to each other's contact list automatically if you invite somebody in, which is kind of cool. I don't think that was that way before.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Hey Vince, one last question for you, and that is, it seems like PL kind of saw this coming with Brave. I guess they said, oh, there's a lot of new players, let's make Horde. And Goonswarm said, oh, there's a lot of new players, let's make Karma Fleet and stuff. But NC didn't take that route. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of people within Antidot that have corporations outside of Antidot that already do it on a corp level, and that's where they then try and bring their next recruit from, I suppose, when the time is right. I mean, alpha clones is something totally different, so it could be something that we revisit. But I mean, I would say that the horde is probably more of just a horde thing, whereas you've got waffles and the pancake thing. That's probably a more realistic route for somebody that's going to join PL rather than horde. Isn't it, Killer?
Yeah, so pancakes are alpha clones. Waffles were kind of a training corp for PL, and then you had Horde, which are kind of fit in the middle, I guess. Is that about right?
Well, I mean, you can get up from Horde into PL. It's possible, but because you get to play with PL dudes. We have like this, for example, we have this one little program. It's basically one corp in PL. It's called ISRAD. We have this group called ISBAD, and ISBAD is basically ISRAD players that go out there and take Horde players with them and do the stuff that ISRAD usually does. ISRAD is very good at fishing, at hunting stuff, and they do that kind of stuff. Except they take Horde players with them on that, so they get to play with the PL players. And then obviously, if someone turns out to be really good, really useful, then they can get vouched into PL. But generally, it's not like Horde is a feeder alliance for us. Horde is their own thing, just as Waffles is now. Waffles, the days of Waffles being the Snake feeder corp is kind of over. They are a very independent alliance at this point. So yeah, maybe PL has to figure out new ways of recruiting soon.
Do you think you just merge these groups together or anything?
Say what? Sorry?
Would you think about merging these groups together or something, or do you like them all separate that way?
I mean, I think it's really good that they're all separate, because that way, in being part of the PanFam, you could choose whatever playstyle you prefer, right? Like if you want to be low sec, you go to Waffles. If you want to play like PL, you go to PL. And if you like the whole Horde thing, like the whole just having a huge fleet, a swarm fleet of like fucking 200 Switballs or something, and you go to Horde. You can choose whatever you like and be part of the PanFam. And obviously, if in grim times, we'll always stand together as one big family.
Vince, I do have one more question. Sorry. Why haven't you either recruited PL to come into Northern Coalition, or Northern Coalition has gone to PL? Like, why haven't you just merged into one mega alliance? Is it a cultural difference?
No, because that's not a cultural difference. Because I don't know if you ever sat on PL or NT.com. It's literally it's like a disease. I suppose the easy answer is the alliances separately complement each other pretty well.
But they have to be kept separate.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I guess there's a.
Although the Graph has been trying to recruit me now for 6 years. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm basing the question off of, is Graph's efforts to nab you and Lady Scarlet into PL.
I think we established Celine is after Lady Scarlet.
I think we've already gone too far past the point where that would even be a realistic thing to do. It would make that single alliance far too big. I don't know. I just don't think it'd operate properly. Do you, Cole? I think we'd be,
No. I think it would be awful.
We'd be a lot less. Yeah, we'd be a lot less effective than we are now as a team.
Yeah.
I think that's an important point as well, because one thing that certainly under the new sovereignty system that I've been taught is that groups that are able to operate independently and do things independently from each other and work towards a particular goal is actually the most effective way of doing it. When you're trying to be a group trying to achieve a goal within the new sovereignty system, you generally tend to be a bit handicapped doing that. Whereas if you have lots of groups trying to achieve the same goal in their own way, then somehow that seems to work under the new sub system as well.
Well, it's a funny contrast to Imperium that wants everybody to jump into. Some people wanted everybody to jump into the same alliance. It's a stark contrast to PL and NC wanted to stay separate, for whatever the reasons are. Well, cool. Let's now move on to Tiberius. Do you know what's going on out there in the meetup situation, or the people getting together?
Yes, of course. The biggest event for this time of year, other than Vegas, and certainly the biggest event for the guys down the southern hemisphere, Eve Down Under kicked off yesterday. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the news when that comes out. I'm certainly going to be pestering Bam once he's stopped organising that event and has come back.
It's Bam Stoker.
That is, who is in Van Diemen's Demise, and he's been organising that event for a number of years now. So I will be having a chat with him when I manage to get our time zones aligned. But that's kicked off. That's in Sydney at the moment. There's already plenty of tweets and pictures floating around on Twitter. So if you are going, let's hope you have a good time.
Bam. Go ahead.
Go. What were you going to say about Bam?
Bam and VDD used to be a Northern Coalition. I remember when Bam joined them, and then they went to PL, and they're actually now back in NC, which is kind of cool. I have a soft spot for them. It's where Dark Razor came out of there, who's joined CCP as an employee now.
So the next meet this weekend as well, excuse me, this is rattling around with the bottles in the background. The next meet as well on the 26th at 8 o'clock is in Houston, and that's at the King's Head Pub. It's a monthly meet that happens there. If you're in that area, check it out. It looks like a great pub. Certainly if I'm in that area, I'm going to go check it out myself.
That's cool.
Then there's another meet, again, just sort of as a follow-up to Eve Down Under, is a hangout with CCP Antiquarian. He's going to be in Western Australia in Fremantle at Little Creatures on 40 Muse Road, Fremantle, WA 6160. And that's on the 30th of November at 6:30. So if you're around there and you want to meet the man with the hats that does the Alliance tournament broadcasts, then go check that out. Cool. And last but not least, the 4th of December at 12:30 is the monthly Toronto meet for December. And that's at a new venue by the looks of it. Joe's Baldy, I think that is. But that's on the 4th of December. You can check out all those meets and everything else on evemeet.net. And if you are organising a meet, certainly set one up and let me know. And of course, tomorrow we have. Oh no, I don't think we're doing it tomorrow. But also, the last week we wrapped up the second series of the EVT Minor League as well, and so that's progressing as well. And it's been some really exciting matches if you've been keeping up with that. And that's it.
Cool. All right. I want to thank Vince for hanging out with us, and Killer B as well. And Johnny Pugh for jumping in and helping us with some information there. And really appreciate it. Do you guys have anything else you want to say? I think Vince had to go or has to go.
Yeah, we have some time as a tribute, but no, thanks for having me. And
always a pleasure. You always give us a ton of information, and really appreciate that. And Vince, are you still here, or did you have to leave?
Oh, pretty sure he's
gone.
Yeah,
he's already
running stuff.
Yeah. All right, Johnny, thanks too for coming. We appreciate it. You have anything else you want to say, Johnny?
I wish I could have been of more use in the discussion, but I have no Alliance war experience anymore, so it's beyond my realm.
That's okay. Have any videos coming out?
After Thanksgiving, I hope to. Right now, I'm busy and too drained to attempt anything.
Right.
Too full of turkey.
I will be uploading more.
Well, you did a bunch of stuff in the run-up to Ascension, probably.
Yeah, a few videos. I tried to get some stuff out.
Yeah, well, we'll look for them as they come out. And for new players who are watching this show, it's Johnny Pugh's YouTube. Is it under Johnny Pugh, or what's it under?
Yeah, it's the same name as my username on Discord.
Yeah, so Johnny Pugh, check out his videos. You'll learn a lot. He exposes people to a lot of stuff before it actually hits the game in a very understandable way, which is why they're really easy to watch and good. Right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. We appreciate it. That's it for Talking in Stations, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Okay.
Cool, you can all fuck off now.
Wait, did I hit the button?
God damn it!
Yeah, I think we did. I meant to play the outro too to give it something, but
yeah, I have a second Thanksgiving this afternoon, so that's why I was able to hop on. I almost forgot about this, because I remember you telling me every Saturday, so I was wondering if you're going to cancel it this Saturday because of Thanksgiving or not.
I don't know. Well, I think it was Matt had no intentions to. Okay. Did you, Matt? No.
Hold on, I'm making sure that I did hit stop, didn't I? Maybe I think we're still broadcasting. We're still going. This is the after show. If you guys want to hang out with us for a minute.
All right, don't dox anybody.
Shh. Yeah, I won't do anything. Sorry, what did you say, Tiberius?
No, Johnny was asking. Yeah, we're still bloody live. That's so funny.
It's okay if we're live. This is just the after show. We'll run it for like 2 minutes until we all go our separate directions, which will be soon.
That's how you get it to go viral on Reddit if you say something incriminating and something like this. And
yeah, totally.
Like you thought, oh no, we're still alive.
Talk about the guy that left, or Tiberius and I go at each other like, you what? You went.
That's the secret to success, man. It's that fake drama.
Yeah. For those of you telling us we're still alive.
That's what we did at Event actually at Nottingham, because we recorded the show in the studio, and at the end of that we kind of set up this whole thing where we were just gonna roast Xander, Xander Fina from Crossing Zebras at the end of it, and we just came on, and we had Dreckless come on stage and go, look at Xander with this message, what's wrong with him? And we were like, he couldn't even be bothered to turn up, why do we care about him, and all this sort of stuff. Walked off stage.
Hey, man, you're a big proponent of meetups, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons that you know so much about them, but you go to them in London. When you meet these guys, what... is it just now you've gone to a few? Is it really just meeting your friends and everybody catches up?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't go to FanFest anymore for the event itself. I mean, there's a few. I go to the keynotes and I go to things like that, or I go to some of the round tables and things just to sort of listen about things that I want to listen about. But most of the time it's just catching up with people I know, and it's weird because a lot of these people certainly the guys from NT and the guys from NC and things, we spend a lot of time talking to each other, and we spend so much time talking about the game to each other that when we actually meet face to face, we hardly talk about EVE at all.
Really?
We just have a few drinks and chat away and have just catch up with each other. Just people that know each other reasonably well, having a few beers together. That's basically what it becomes.
It is kind of weird. You don't really talk shop, right?
No, we don't talk shop at all. I mean, there might be occasion where Nash and I or some of the other NT guys will set 10 minutes aside to just catch up on some of the important news, because it's nice to have a bit of face-to-face time. But otherwise, it's after 3 years of going to Eve meets now, it's just like meeting up with your friends down the pub.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, man, we all know that I've gotten 10 or 11 texts saying you're still on the air, and I really appreciate you guys looking out for us that way. We're doing kind of a post-show. All the guests, Johnny's with us, have gone. We don't have topics. We're just kind of hanging out. It's Thanksgiving, so why not? If you guys want to actually jump in here with us, we're going to stay live for a few more minutes. If you want to jump in, hang around, totally welcome.
Do it live.
Yeah, do it live. Jump into Public Voices.
Nothing can go wrong at all.
And I'll drag you down. Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong. It will just be fine.
All right. Off the record, Tiberius, what's it like that now that Bobman is no longer in charge of Eve News 24?
Off the record while on the stream? What are you trying to do to me, man? What's wrong with you?
Well, literally, I seriously wasn't trying to bait you, but I did mean.
You totally are.
I guess nothing really. I guess nothing really changes, right? I mean, because Bobman was really just kind of taking care of the business side of things over
Yeah,
there.
Bob Munn was chilled, and he kind of gave you good words of encouragement, and when he needed to step in, he stepped in. And then we have Sullivan, who's a very different sort of leader. In there, he's a lot more sort of vocal in comparison to Bob Munn, but he'll kick people in the butt rather than giving them encouragement. So, I think it's going to be an interesting change and a very different change. And I'd be keen to see what's going to happen over the next couple of months on the site, and see how that dynamic changes it.
You're a prolific writer. You're also really good. You're one of my favorite writers.
Stop buttering me up.
It's true.
Whenever you butter me up, you're going to ask me something that I'm not going to like answering. That's what you'll do, basically.
All I was going to say is, why aren't you editor-in-chief there? Because you've been there a long time. You've obviously, you're a tent pole there kind of thing.
Honestly, because my grammar is terrible.
No,
it's awful.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible. Actually, no, it's not that bad. But to be an EIC in comparison to just a writer, you just have to kind of get that inspiration to put something into a document and post it. So that's where a lot of my energy comes from. To be an editor-in-chief is very different. I mean, it's and this is something because I am the editor-in-chief over at EventT. So a lot of the content goes on that site, but the content that goes on that site is pretty easy because it's player events, tournaments, and maybe some other community news type stuff. That's it. It's not really a lot of scope in there, so when you get it, it's quite easy to work it out. But when you're writing a story for a website, such as Eve News 24 or INN or Crossing Zebras, that content has to come from the writers. It's not just stuff that hey, we're doing this thing, so can you help promote it? It's people wanting to write about their experiences, and people have to have that inspiration to go and do that. And that's something that when your writers are lacking that sort of inspiration, an editor-in-chief has to find a way to get people doing that again. So it's a very different role, and to be honest, I don't think I would have liked it. It's a very different role.
Sounds like too much responsibility.
Yeah, there is a lot of responsibility on it.
Say hi to Zendane, who joined us. He does the reading of the Chronicles. What's that podcast you have called?
It's called the Eve Reader Podcast.
Oh, that voice.
Man, that voice, yeah. it's like I'm talking to the game. Let me actually turn that up if you can speak up a little louder.
Oh, sure. Okay. Let me see.
Can you speak up louder still?
How is this?
Yeah, great.
I would call that a classic NPR voice.
Yeah. We met at Vegas, right? Like we got to know each other there, and
yes, we did. It was nice to finally get to meet so many of the people that I've been hearing, and yes, I did have a chance to sit down and chat with you, and it was quite wonderful.
Yeah, for me too. Is that your? I'm gonna probably stick my foot in my mouth here. Was that your wife that was with you, or?
Yes, that was my wife.
Okay, because if it wasn't your wife, I think I just screwed you up.
No. That's my wife with the enchanting Norwegian accent.
Right. All right. Now I felt pretty safe saying that. Hey, welcome, Opus Magnum, who hangs out with us in Talking in Stations many times after shows. And were you with us during the election?
Yes, I was.
That's right. Yeah, you're with it. So we actually hung out here. There was like 12 of us. How many of us were there?
Oh, that was some awesome. Yeah, it was like, 12 or 13 of us that night.
Yeah, from all over the political spectrum and all over the national spectrum. Some people were from different countries, of course. And no major fights, right?
No major fights. It was probably the most civil political discussion I've ever seen in my entire life, of the internet and even real life.
Yeah. Well, I did delete some things. That was about it. And some people left and, stomped out because they said it was too PC or whatever. But as far as the people who were on Voice was, I think everybody that I like is pretty measured. So it didn't surprise me. But it was nice to kind of see that confirmed. Everybody's everybody that kind of hangs out and talking in stations is just kind of cool. Like they kind of are measured. They don't go nuts about things.
It's who you attract, right? Since you're measured, you attract similar people.
Well, that's good. That's probably true. Although I track some crazies too.
There's always outliers. There are always outliers. You look at the average.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Matterall is just a character I made up to do the writing and stuff like that. But Tibbs, you're actually Tiberius in space, right? So I mean, if somebody sees Tiberius Stargazer, they're shooting at you.
Yep. Yeah, they're shooting at me.
Do you get primary?
Semi-regularly. like I don't think it's the primary that's a matter. It just means I'm more hypersensitive when it comes to like watching the other fleet and seeing if I'm getting red boxed or something like that. But like it's when they give the comment in local and they go, "Hey, Tiberius, link kill mail," and I'm like, yeah, okay. We got a Tiberius kill mail, but they get all gloaty about it. I think that's quite funny.
They're just reaching out to give you a
like
hug.
The best one was we'd gone out to Lowsec and we went to go and fight Project Snuffbox, or whatever you call that group now, and we were just about to get into a fight, and it was not long after they'd done some graphical updates to the client, which is now starting to show the age of my graphics card, because every now and again it would just get a blank screen, try and refresh the client, and then disconnect if it can't do it. So at that time, we landed on grid, we were getting ready to fight. I disconnect. I'm like, uh-oh, this could be bad news. Like, scramble to reconnect, just turn everything off, turn everything back on again. Warping back into the grid, I hear the FC going, "Oh, right, take the warp. And I'm like, no, not a grid yet. Land, smack bang in the middle of about 60 Proteuses from Snuffbox.
Ouch.
with their, like, extra long faction points, and I start aligning, and I'm like, I'm gonna get out. Nearly there. And as soon as I just about get to that 75% mark of velocity where you warp off, the point symbol comes up on my capacitor, and I'm like, no! And then a few seconds later, I'm dead. And then, like, 2 minutes after I die, I get a screenshot tweeted to me with my Proteus being tackled on screen with warp disruptor has an effect on Tiberius Stargazer. It was like, "You're right there, mate."
You're rubbing it in.
Yeah, cheers. Here's the knife. Shove it in a bit more and give it a little twist there.
That's awesome.
But that's it.
So
it does have its downside.
Are you working on new Chronicles, or because they're putting them out, right?
Oh yeah. Funny you should mention that. I actually have one done, and I'll be releasing it after the show.
Nice.
Hey, look at that.
Which one is that one on? Which Chronicle is that?
It's going to be the Chronicle Spectral.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a little bit of more of an obscure one. I actually had it started working on it before Eve Vegas, but figured I really need to finish this up. I want to get it out. It's a nice story. It's one of those day in the life kind of stories. It's not a huge impact one like, say, Inheritance, for instance. But it's just such a nice story, and I'm hoping folks will like it.
Do you actually like the lore? Is that why you decided to do that, or is it like, I have a great talent. I can read these chronicles, and so let me just explore the thing I like to do, or is it do you really like lore, and said, why don't I just put these out?
Sure. Actually, I really do like the lore, because I like how it makes the game feel more than just there's our side, there's their side, or look what we've come across, we can do this thing. It makes the universe feel more like it's a living, breathing entity. And as CCP has updated things over the years, I'm sorry to say not so much now as they used to, then it feels like you're actually part of an evolving, changing universe. actually the reason that I started the podcast, believe it or not, was at the time in 2012 I was working at a station that was fairly far from my home, so I listened to a lot of books on tape, and it occurred to me it'd be really nice if the Eve Chronicles were a book on tape. And I looked around for that. I wasn't able to find anything that was exactly like that, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and do that myself.
Yeah, it's funny. They do lend themselves to that, and I was looking for the same thing. And then when I saw yours, I was like, of course. Like, why wasn't this done years ago?
Actually,
doing it.
CCP did record a couple of them. I don't have any links handy, but they did do a couple of them, and it was really, near as I know, it was really well received. But they opted not to follow up on that. And I mean, now I'm doing this, and when I understand people really like it, so I continue to do them.
Yeah, I think there were two that were made. One was a female reader, or maybe they were both a female reader. And then they just stopped. And it seems like some of the best stuff CCP comes out with just kind of stops. And that tells me something, that people make CCP. People make this game that work at CCP. And when they leave or they lose interest, then those things die. Like those projects die. I think that probably CCP allows a lot of room for, if you want to do this, you go ahead, you're welcome to do it. But it's, like your time, like the Alliance Tournament or... Reading Chronicles or
I think it was I seem to distinctly remember a discussion with CCP Karka or Puncturus. One of them that either it was recorded or it was an event where they said that CCP gives their employees a certain amount of time to work on side projects. Like CCP Loki, for example, does the scope videos. That's his little side project. CCP Lilu, for example, has started working on the feature tour videos. That's her little side project as well. Karka and Puncturus did the little things list. So they do get a bit of time to spend work doing something that might not necessarily be in the core brief of the development that they're working on at the moment. And as a result, some really, really good stuff has come out of it, such as ghost fitting, or now the simulated fitting, which started off as a side project, and now it's a full-fledged feature. The new launcher, again, same thing. So yeah, they do get some time to work on these projects, and I think when they do leave, those projects go with them as well. It's a bit of a shame.
Poor Corker, did you see she didn't have a very good arrival at Eve Down Under. She got sick,
No.
I think. She tweeted out a picture of her next to the porcelain god.
Praying to the porcelain bowl, yeah.
I just felt so bad for her sitting there. Like, I've never been there. I've never had that problem, but I can imagine it's horrible and feels just totally demoralizing. But hopefully she's all better.
Plus with the jet lag as well. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, one time I went to Australia, the jet lag was real. It took me a couple of days to get over that.
I've never been to Australia, but Europe was enough. Like, seriously, you pop open and you're ready to go, and it's pitch dark and 3 a.m.
Well, I think for you on the West Coast is probably about the same, and if you
That's
add
true.
a little bit extra on for Australia. So yeah.
Yeah, because it's like 9 hours, so I guess it would be about the same, and that's a terrible feeling.
Well, it was a 9 hours to. It's 11 hours to Hong Kong, and then it was 9 hours to Melbourne for us. So yeah, long time. Yeah, it's a long old flight.
It's long.
No fun. What have you been up to, Opus?
Well, doing lots of stuff in games with alphas. I kind of joined a couple of corps, helping with them play with their alpha, get their alpha people up and running. And I've got a little side project I'm working on. Some of y'all might have been seeing it. It's Evil Onion News.
Is that you?
I love that.
Is that you? Are you serious?
That is me.
Oh,
Yeah,
funny.
I love that page. It's so brilliant.
Now, I was wondering who that was. I had suspicions. I had no idea it was you.
It was me. I'm not telling the whole world, but I'm telling some people.
Yeah,
I
this
might
will
as
be
tell
our,
the whole
our little
world now.
secret here on the show.
Exactly. But no, I felt really bad because I didn't realize there's already an Eve Onion blog, and so I had to reach out to Tugbug or Turkberg, whatever the guy's
Yeah,
name
yep, yep,
is,
yep.
and so I had no idea that was actually a thing already. Felt really bad, but we've watered the bridge. I've already purchased domains, and I'm a web developer in real life, so expect hire another blog, same one, but we put everything over. Hopefully, have a brand new site to put stuff on, and we'll see what goes from there.
Oh, that's cool. That is surprising. I'm shocked. Normally, I have to admit I wasn't really looking, but I did have some suspicions that it might be somebody that I knew. I had no idea it was you. So that is a shocker.
It usually is someone you know. It's always someone you know.
Yeah, it kind of just happened on the fly. I was talking to, you can go back and come in the conversation, kind of see what was born. I was talking with Doom Chilla on Twitter, and it just the whole tinfoil hat started happening. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start posting stuff on the fly here that's totally made up because, you know what? We need more false drama in Eve. Why not? It's just fun.
Oh, false drama! You were starting a media war recently.
That was, yes. I only saw one tweet and tweeted out what I did, and then it just kind of boiled on from there. It's all these things. I mean, I'm at work. I glance at Twitter and say, "Oh, there's something kind of happening." I'll do a alt, timeline thing of it or something off the wall.
Yeah, I think this morning. I was apparently dismissed by Imperium News for some reason. I don't know what, but yeah, that was actually pretty funny, and we really enjoy that.
I'm glad.
Good tradition.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoy it. I mean, I just did it out of the kind of off the cuff of originally, but I've kind of started looking for things and starting with trends and stuff just to keep some long stuff going because there will be times where I just won't have as much content as I have, and some things it kind of can get stupid. I mean, I will admit that Cribba did call me out on the stupid one, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't guarantee it'll always be good.
Yeah, exactly. That's with everything. Although this was a good show today, and it was this morning. It's dark when I start. It's all bright and sunny in the morning.
Man, this is the life of a media mogul. Yeah, you completely lose track of what time of day it is.
Yeah, I think I might have made $2.30 today.
And before you know it, you'll be trashing hotel rooms.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I've got to bug out. I've got to go take care of my kid.
All right, man. Good for you.
No,
priorities.
Amen. Catch y'all later.
Yeah. So
that's always the thing that makes me think is when you consider the amount of time and effort the community put into EVE Online, not just necessarily in the game, but for us that enjoy doing stuff out of game as well, and how many man hours, or person hours, not to be like,
okay,
to be PC on this one, person hours.
It's EVE. You don't have to worry about that. there's no women here to hear you.
That's probably true, but it just does make me wonder how, if you took all of that and put it all together, how many hours are spent on creative projects by the community for EVE. That I'd probably be horrified by the number, actually, to be fair. Especially when I consider if I actually did a job for that amount of time as well.
You mean if you calculated how much money you're not making?
Yeah, exactly.
I think, and we talked about that, right? Like, you wrote this huge article for EVE News 24 just now. A lot of work. I mean, it looks like a research paper, has footnotes. And
yep, it was like 6 hours to write that, I think, plus a couple for sort of tweaking and editing.
Here's the difference, and this is why it was interesting to me. If that was a piece about your opinion on things, I could see what the payoff is. It's that people get to, you get to reach out and people get to know, how fancy you think. But that's a news item. You researched a news item. and put it out, put it all in chronological order, and made it readable by, the medium player, which I really appreciate always. Instead of inside ball, it's like, this is for medium players that don't know all the terms and stuff, so you kind of lay it out. And that requires payment, because the payoff isn't that, you're getting to express yourself. This is like research and reporting. Totally different than here's my opinion and here's something I find interesting.
Well, I think everybody writes pieces of work and does other bits of work from maybe a slight feeling of narcissism, maybe.
Slight?
Yeah, okay. I was trying to be like turn it down a little bit. I mean, we like to have our ego served by people saying that they enjoyed the work, and it's a bit of a weird thing, because when you write a decent article that is factually correct and not a lot of people have a comment about, and you get all your facts straight, nobody comments on it. Like, you get very, very few comments. When you get something wrong, you'll soon hear the comments about it. But when you get it right, yeah. But when you get it right, you won't hear a squeak. You might get like one person go, "Oh, that's a nice article," and that's it. And for me, when you get that, and that's right, but it's when you get no comments at all, you're just like, "Oh, what have I done wrong? Oh, people are not engaged. Some people are not liking it," and then you screw up, and people go, "Argh!" And you just, "Oh, okay, I didn't like that one."
Yeah.
So
it almost incentivizes you to throw in one little mistake to get some more interactions.
There you go. Weird. Put in a mistake and then put in a correction right afterward, and that way you can say, well, look at you people. You didn't read the whole article. There's a correction at the bottom.
Totally. Little trap.
It works on YouTube. People get more comments. If you make one little error, I haven't done it on purpose, but I've contemplated it, because every time I make one little error, all of the analytical Eve player types, they will call it out and say, hey, this is wrong, or you didn't understand this right. And I'll get a ton of comments just on that, even though they don't read their own comments. Like 12 people say the same thing. You think they would stop saying it.
Yeah. Especially on YouTube, because it's kind of like who reads all the comments to see if somebody's actually posted said comment beforehand. They just go in and post it. But it's weird,
how wrong I am, but don't have enough time to read the comments to see if it's already been said.
Exactly. I'm probably seeing the one that was like upvoted the most on the YouTube, to see that the fact that was somebody else.
I'll make sure that doesn't happen. I'll censor them before they get upvoted.
But it's weird. It is so weird. But that was kind of my enjoyment. And I got a lot of positive feedback. But it took, not counting all the time that you actually just have to read Reddit, because you have to keep there's ongoing work all the time that you need to do to keep on top of this sort of stuff. Like, you're always reading Reddit, you're always looking at Twitter, you're always reading the blogs. And then when you get enough information in your brain which to put down, then you start putting it down on screen or wherever.
It's not easy, because you can have all this information in your head. I often do have a lot of information from direct sources, and I can't put it down. Like, it takes you have to figure out the order of things, because the order of things is important. And so I think it takes a lot of work to sort it out, and then just to be able to write about it and stuff.
When you first start doing things like this, it takes so much time. You have to do it from a selfless point. What's the word? But you have to do it selflessly, in that you're not expecting repayment. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, when I started making videos about Eve, I expected nothing. I just wanted to make videos that I wanted to watch myself. So I started making videos. Didn't expect anybody to comment or watch or anything like that. I just kept making them. And eventually, though, payment started coming through, getting partnership on YouTube and ad revenue.
Ooh, how much do you make?
Oh, yeah.
Multi-dollars.
I could tell you how much I make, but I don't know what the rules are against that.
Oh, okay. Don't tell us that.
Just in case. I could give you an estimate, though. I do make a few hundred a month from advertisement revenue.
What?
That's good.
Actually, quite good.
How many hits YouTube? How many hits
YouTube
do you get?
It depends on the month, right? And how many uploads I make a month. Okay, I'll give you an estimate. Most YouTubers, they'll make at least, if they're partnered, at least $1 per 1,000 views. At least. Wow. So on average, lately, I've been getting between 150,000 views to 200,000 views a month.
That is a lot of views.
Yeah.
That is huge.
And like I think 2 years ago, like November and December, I averaged 300,000 views each month, and that was incredible. But I haven't done that since.
Well, I'm gonna have to advertise with you.
Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time to build up viewership in the Eve community on YouTube because people are older. They're not browsing YouTube for Eve content like younger generations are for their own game communities. So it's difficult to build an audience.
Yeah, how did you do it? I mean, imagine it's consistency and quality production.
Yeah, consistency. My quality is I keep my quality at a certain level. I don't want to get too much put too much time into each video because if I do that, it drains my energy and it makes me not want to work on new content. It makes me become like more of a perfectionist instead of a content producer. I want to produce content. I don't want to perfect content. Because it's like the 80-20 rule. You know about that.
Yeah, definitely the 80-20 rule, right?
So I do 80% of the quality and I release that, right? That extra 20 takes most of the time. So I don't do that anymore. But yeah, consistency, you have to understand Eve players, right? If you understand Eve players, most of them are very focused on Eve only. And if they subscribe to an Eve channel or someone uploading Eve stuff, that's all they want to see. They don't want to see any other game besides Eve. So if you're going to make an Eve channel, you just have to upload Eve only. You can't upload anything else. Otherwise, you're just not going to attract the core audience of Eve.
Well, funny enough, you said that because Reload, who did the Z Kill series, which were just 10-minute short little roasty type videos, just taking the mickey, not taking themselves too seriously, but actually imparting some quite useful information. Instead of an Eve video, did a Black Ops 2 video about a particular gun in the same vein. He got as many dislikes as he got likes on that one, like straight off the bat. And I was sitting there going, whoa, what's going on here?
It's that Eve audience, that core Eve audience. They do not want to see it.
Nope, they did not. But the reaction was just so big. It surprised me. I mean,
I would get the same thing. I would get the same thing.
If you're just joining us and stumbled upon this, we're after hours. The Talking in Station show ended a few minutes ago, and we're just kind of hanging out with Zendane and Johnny Pugh. And joining us again is Open Magnum, who actually turns out to be Eve Onion, at least the Twitter handle, right? You're the Twitter or the site?
I am the Twitter.
Twitter, yeah. So we're just hanging out. If you guys want to join us, Talking in Stations has a Discord. You're always welcome to hang out in there. We have show notes and stuff like that usually, and this is also how you get on to this show. I'll put that in the chat anyway.
It's a really cool place to hang out. This is like the one Discord I like actively have it all the time just to see what's coming in and out of it.
And if you're on late on a Saturday night or a Friday night EU time zone, you usually get me coming in drunk to abuse people.
That's true. Not to abuse people, but coming in drunk.
I say abuse, probably orally, like with my shouting and my ranting and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of things in this channel, right? We end up yesterday we were talking. God, we got so deep into this topic about gender issues, EVE Online, gender issues in general.
Was I there? I don't remember it. Oh yes, I was there.
You were in body, not in mind.
Yep. Drunk.
This is too deep for me.
Yeah, I did.
I'm a pirate.
I missed that one, thankfully.
It's a topic that we're going to hit pretty soon. I want to talk about women and Eve. One of the articles I was going to write and still will was I titled it, and it was a bit baity, but it was Eve hates women, and the idea was
this has been your what's the word to say I'm thinking of, where it's the piece of work that you are always trying to work on but never get finished.
Yeah,
like you've been working on this for like a year now.
It's my whale, I guess, my Moby Dick.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But
the Eve hates women thing is your Moby Dick.
Yeah, funny. It's more like is more of an exploration on why there is only 4 or 5% females that play the game, and it was. I think a lot of people have different opinions on it, and they range from very, opinions like women don't like science fiction, which is not true, to opinions like, Eve is too harsh for women kind of thing, and there's no clothes to put on and stuff, which is probably not true as well. But, there's something's going on, right? Because the game's 95% guys. Like, how does that happen? So, yeah, I've interviewed a lot of women, about 15, 16, everyone from old players to new stable players have been here for a long time. Actually, I talked to, of course, Minxie, Lady Scarlet, and other people who've been here a long time and are very established female players. To what was her name? Mintchip LOL. Talked to her for a while about it. Talked to some of the women getting abused as they stream. Just. Because it gets rough. I mean, they really go after the gender-specific issues when women get attacked in the game, which is unfortunate but true. And I wonder where that hate comes from, because I thought, well, it's just guys being misogynistic, and that's part of it. But the other part of it is, I think, they don't like that women can get ahead of them using something that these guys have no access to, right? Like, they're not a pretty girl, so they're not going to get invited into Black Legion on the first day. And I think that's what a lot of anger envy. Is. What's that?
Boob envy.
yeah, boob envy. Although a lot of these guys have boobs.
Boobs.
So I don't know. Boobs. Actually,
I don't know.
I shouldn't say these guys, right?
About the beer and drink.
Every time I insult an Eve player, I'm insulting myself. So I guess.
When it comes to the demographic of Eve Online being older male, you'd think they would have more tolerance towards women streaming Eve, but I don't know.
They do. I think
it
it's
depends
the young
on
guys.
how. Yeah, they have a lot more younger players getting into Eve now that it's becoming more hip.
I don't know. Is Eve ever going to be hip?
Oh yeah, one of these days, I believe it.
We always think
keeping
Eve,
the faith.
We always think that Eve just needs to be discovered, right? Like people just need to discover it, and they'll like it.
You need like a major U.S. celebrity to talk about Eve and obsess over it. That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
So you could pay somebody.
There was a radio show quite recently. I think it was I can't remember what it was, but there was a radio show quite recently. I think it was in Australia or something. Where that was it. And Otto von Bismarck got onto this radio show, and he was trying to explain World War B to these radio hosts. And these radio hosts just clearly didn't get it at all. Like they just didn't understand. And he was doing his best to try and make it as approachable as possible. And these guys were just like, "Wow, that sounds really weird and really strange. Why would people do this? I don't understand." So
I think
it was bizarre.
There's people miss how I don't know. There's a lot of issues that I'm wrestling with. I've always been interested in technology and futurism and stuff like that. And there's a lot of things that are being missed. And one of them that is now being talked about at very high levels is just like what life is and what consciousness is and all that kind of stuff. And for some of the deep players, like Eve is a level of consciousness where we are all using our biological brains and stuff, and we're connecting in ways that you're supposed to connect in a little tribe. But it turns out you're in a cyber tribe where the people don't actually exist physically around you. They're across the world. And a lot of the characteristics that are reserved for getting you through life are at play here. And so I don't know. And then there's deeper stuff like just metaphysics, like is this consciousness? Is Eve a consciousness? What happens when one of us dies? Like, that's such a weird thing, right?
I like philosophy, so this is the kind of thing I think about quite often, probably an unhealthy amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
What does my character do when I'm not logged in?
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that line was delivered so well.
I know, right?
It sounded like the voice of God was just talking to me.
I don't know. Tell us, God. What do we do?
We sit in our captain's quarters.
Yeah. Sit in our captain's quarters. Rip Captain's Quarters. Oh, yeah.
You think they'll take those out?
Well, yeah, I mean, they kind of already have started doing it now that you can't access them in Citadels. But then again, at the same time, they kind of did it because they included it into the new character sheet as well.
You think it'll be a merger between the games, Valkyrie, and other games?
No, not at all.
Never happened, huh?
No, I think CCP tried that great experiment with Dust, and it was there, but I think the technical challenges of actually trying to do it was just way, way beyond the scope of what they thought it would be, and way beyond what CCP was able to do. So, and quite rightly, they've stepped away from that and are now just going, hey, let's make a space sim shooter for VR and make it the best game it possibly can. And they've gone ahead and done that. And from what I understand, it's been a semi-reasonable success.
So Captain Carter is never gonna be a thing. Walking in stations never gonna be a thing.
And we got Nova, and if they follow the same thing, which is the next iteration of Dust, if they focus on that, but I don't think they're ever going to link them together, and I don't think Captain's Quarters, because it's you got to think of it from CCP's point of view, that every time they start tweaking something in the main game, it has the potential to break something else, which includes the Captain's Quarters, and it needs maintaining, it needs updating, and things like that. And it's kind of good at the moment because it's all in there, and they can add some vanity items for little to no extra cost. But what about when they want, they ever want to reapproach it or rebuild it? They're going to have to put it out and redevelop it anyway. So who knows?
I've always been a firm believer that walking in stations would bring in more female players.
Right. More connection to the body than a spaceship.
Correct.
That's very interesting because when I used to be in an OLSEC alliance called Trifecta Syndicate, we used to live out in Oasa before Bot sort of took it all over, and we still had Razor Alliance. I think it was that not Razor. No, I can't remember. It begins with an R. Anyway, it's a few years ago now. We were out there, and there was an Australian couple that played Eve. Now these him and his wife, they would get up in the morning and they loved to mine together. It was like the thing they did. So they undocked in nullsec, they mined away, they participated on our fleet operations and things like that, but they used to mine and work together to do that, to achieve their goal, and it was great. Until eventually they slowly, first the wife slowly stopped locking in, and then eventually the husband stopped looking in because it was like, well, I play games with my wife, that's what we do together, and now she's no longer playing this game that I want to play, so we're going to go play something else. I'm like, well, why? And it's sort of because she lost interest, and I quote this, she said she found it hard to relate to a spaceship that was the same as everybody else's spaceship.
Is this before Skins?
This is before Skins. And
accessorize.
Yeah, and so they said, there was just no connection there, and it turned out she'd gone to play a completely other MMO, but where it was, you're seeing your avatar. So I definitely think you're right. There is something there. I mean, certainly for us that play you anyway, we're fine with the spaceship because we see, what that. Using that spaceship because we all wanted to be spaceship captains, I guess. But women don't always want to be spaceship captains. They want to be, a physical character taking part in a greater universe.
Can't relate to that. No.
No.
And that's kind of one of the conclusions that I would arrive at is I do think I'm going to get nailed for this, but I'll do it even on air, is there's differences between men and women, not just physical. They're built for different things. Like, when they have children, they get injected with, their body injects them with a ton of hormones so they're able to fully bond and nurture in a way that a man may not be, just because biology evolved that way.
I don't think you're going to be in any trouble saying there's a difference between men and women. You can't say that the capabilities are any different. I think that's where people draw the line.
Well, yeah, and that's Broandra. How do you say that name, Broandra?
Broandra. It's been being butchered for like 8 years now, so whatever.
You don't care no more.
Your name is what reminds me of CCP. They take a system and you think it's like, the word crate, but they switch the E and the A, so it's Krita.
Yeah.
They always switch vowels on you. Or maybe that's
just
what
call you bra.
Nature says that men and women are different and have different abilities. Nature says that, so I have no problem with Matterall saying that.
But the tendencies then are extended. Like my conclusion, I think it's just like the book, Spaceships is a Serious Business, is out there. It has a chapter on this as well, and I think it's kind of the same conclusion. She's obviously much more scholastic than I am, but the person who wrote the book. But women get rewarded by kind of keeping a group together and nurturing it through kind of thing, and men may get rewarded by breaking things and conquering things. And so if you look at the ratio of holding things together as opposed to breaking them apart, that might tell you something about who's attracted to the game, even which genders are attracted to the game.
I can actually agree with that because for when I was CEO, my wife, who is an EVE player and actually has played the game longer than me, she was a director within the Corp. And as a CEO, I would be more focused on what the Corp as an entity would be doing. She would be more focused on the people within the Corp, how they would get along and how they would interact with each other. And needless to say, she was also a diplomat. So this even bears out in game.
Yeah, they're usually women who go up the ranks in power. Some are FCs, but most, I think, are CEOs and diplomats. Am I wrong about that? I mean, I don't know, because a lot of women don't actually identify themselves as women in EVE because they don't want to. It's funny. Women don't want to be persecuted, of course. They also don't want to be championed. They don't want a white knight jumping in front of them. It's embarrassing to them. So, and what's of my interviews, what the most interesting part of that was that women are 50-50 on it. Like, they're just as angry at people who jump in front of them to defend them as they are people who are attacking them.
Yeah, the reason, if you come to someone's defense, it has to be a greater reason than their perception of a woman. What kind of criticism they can take. You got to defend them for the right reasons.
Yeah, right? I mean, they're just an object if you're just jumping in front of them to defend them. They're an object.
Something that needs to be protected.
I don't know if I agree with they're just an object you have to protect them. I mean, I was born in the South United States. We're a very Southern culture, polite towards women. It's not me white knighting, quote unquote, is not seeing them as an object that is weak. It's just the right thing to do. You stick up for the people that, that don't deserve the, whatever bad attention they're getting.
Yeah, if it's undeserved. Correct. Yeah, if it's undeserved. Right.
I don't know. I want to be a guy that says, like, oh, you dummy, you did it wrong. I don't do that to anybody, actually. But if I did do it, then I would want to do it to women as easily as I do it to men. But I kind of find that hard to do.
Yeah, because you get called names. You do it towards certain women.
Maybe. I don't know if I have that white knightish thing going on, which is embarrassing. But or if it's a fear of, maybe it's fear of how that it looks to everybody else. But I would want to treat them exactly the same. I have a hard time treating women exactly the same unless they're an established entity to me. Then it's no problem, right? Because you can treat your sister just like you can treat anybody else.
That's why we have communities. Shared beliefs allow you to express yourself without fear of somebody saying, that triggered me, that offended me. So we have our communities that share the same beliefs, so we can just be ourselves without having to censor or change how we act, because of possible perceptions that aren't like they're just against what you believe.
Right, but I think the problem is, especially with you guys, though, you're the media. You don't actually have a community. I mean, you have to be careful what you say or do, because you'll be plastered all over the place.
Hey, wait a minute. I thought we were the ones with community. You guys.
That's true. If someone has some reason, something against you, yeah, they'll look for ammunition and they'll pick at things.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well.
Good.
All right. I think you should probably wrap this up. Because it's morning.
You need to go for your nap.
Yeah,
and get breakfast.
I need to go back to sleep. No, I don't. The day starts, and it's all about family. Weekends, I get this little... The reason 5 in the morning works for me is it doesn't interfere with real life as much as weekend time or weeknight time. But thanks, guys, for hanging out.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
This is fun. We'll do it again. And Zindane, we have to have you on the show and talk about your work and stuff. And I'm thinking of breaking the show into segments that are like more specific for, like, you know, maybe do 2 20-minute segments or 3. Or do 2 and then do an after hours like this where it's more casual, where it's not, we're not worried about the technical stuff and the moderation and the direction of questions as much, because it's stressful to, it really is a juggling act, and I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but I gotta worry about all the buttons being pushed. Like today, I didn't unmute us, and so we started talking, and nobody could hear anything.
To be fair, that's a mistake that I've done with OBS a lot.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And if you're not looking at, you know, the chat channel or people who are hearing it, then nobody tells you, and you can go on for a long time that way. It's just that easy to miss a small detail and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I would love to have the opportunity to come on and talk about the show, or even just the lore in general. I have to be honest, I just got off a 48-hour shift, so I'm a little tired at the moment. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go and get some sleep.
Long?
48 hours. Yes.
How do you even function with a shift that long?
How do you point one disc for that long?
It's the life I live. Yeah. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take a nap.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah. Oh, one thing about sleep. They determined that sleep is actually, what happens during sleep is that your brain flushes out certain buildup that leads to like Alzheimer and dementia and stuff like that. And so if you don't, you know, like basically wash your brain at night, that's when it happens. It's, you know, when you sleep. Then, you know, within 3 or 4 days, you start actually not functioning very well. It's one of the reasons you lose your memory and you start actually going crazy.
Lovely. Then I am doomed to early demise.
Yeah.
You play Eve. You play Eve. You're already well on that way. Don't worry about it.
I'm already alarm clocking for ops. Yeah.
What kind of job? You don't have to say, but what kind of job keeps you up 48 hours?
I'm a paramedic. I work a firefighter schedule.
Do you get to sleep in the station?
Yeah, when the citizens of our fair city allow me to, but if it's a busy day, and it's how it is. In America, it was a Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh, right.
And which means you have a lot of people that they'll go and they'll indulge, they'll drink too much. They'll say, well, I'm out of town, I don't need to take my medicine, and so they end up doing very badly. Or, oh, it's fine, I'll just when I get back in town on Monday, I'll go to the doctor's, and they don't. So you end up with a lot of things like this. So yeah, and it's been kind of a busy couple days.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's a big weekend for that kind of thing too. And all the shopping fights, right? Because people are beating each other up and killing each other for shopping.
You have no idea how many traffic accidents there were near and around the mall.
I've heard road rage, and somebody in California was killed at a store opening, and wow, just.
Yeah, I actually know something about that, and I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I bet I know where you're at then. Well, anyway, it's super crazy and interesting, and being up late. Yeah, try to get as much. So for all you guys out there, and me and Tiberius especially, get as much regular sleep as possible, because that's when your brain cleans itself out.
Yeah, you're particularly bad at not getting regular sleep.
Yeah, and I think Johnny has a good point here. It's as important as water, and that's true. I think it leads to weight loss and everything.
And then I wake up and drink beer and replace all the toxins. It's great.
Put it back in there.
There's nothing wrong with beer. It's just water, wheat, and a couple other bits. That's it.
Right. The one thing that puzzled me is who invented beer. Like, how did you say, I'm going to drink this water? It's been fermenting for 5 days. And then somebody told me it was actually invented as a way of sterilizing water, like for travel. Isn't that wild?
Whoever did it has my thanks.
There was a great documentary on Netflix called "How Beer Saved the World" or something. It's really good.
Well, fun fact: in London, before the Victorians put in the massive sewage systems that we have today, and everybody was still chucking their waste out into the street, there was no fresh water at all. So the only thing they could drink was the beer. So everybody was allowed to drink a certain amount of beer as part of like their rations when it came to food and lunches and stuff like that. Like employers would give their employees beer to drink because they couldn't drink the water from anywhere else because it was so polluted.
I bet they were more productive.
Sure.
Sadly, I'd hate to see the health and safety stats from that time period,
Sure,
but I
I'll
don't
work
think they
another-
really cared about it.
I'll work another 6 hours, no problem.
Let's pull up the OSHA page on that code.
It's like, oh wait, more beer? Yeah, sure, we'll work for another hour or two.
There it is. Naked and Fearless told us ancient Egyptians used to drink mead, a weak beer, which was safer than water because it killed the bacteria in normal water.
So, like,
Yeah.
pirates, basically.
Well, I don't know.
What's wrong?
Ancient Egyptians were pretty civilized. I didn't know they invented beer. It's weird to think that it went that far back.
We've always
It
needed
can be.
to get our thoughts off of the now.
And here it is. Here it is in the future, right? Because we play this futuristic space game where people get drunk and shoot each other.
I don't drink though. Am I the only sober person?
No, I don't. I don't drink at all. Actually, in
Okay.
Vegas, it was hard because people would be like, "Let me buy you a drink, man. I love your show. Let me buy you a drink." And I'd be like, "No."
You're like, Mimosa, hold the champagne.
I always feel like I'm a bit outside of the community because I don't consume any alcohol. So I understand Matterall. I'm with you.
Yeah, there's a
Johnny,
few of
is that
us.
a choice that you make, or
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a religious belief.
fair enough? I'm on the opposite side. I can't drink because alcohol puts me to sleep. Half a beer and I just want to find somewhere to fall asleep. I'm a cheap date.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
It's okay, guys. I'll be the drunken one on the show from now on. Then I'll take it all.
That's right. You might have some competition from me.
Yeah, totally. Tiberius now takes pictures of his beers. It's like,
Well, yeah. Like, well, there's a funny thing about that. It's like,
oh, Razor, I could see your headphones.
yeah. There's
Nice
a funny thing
product
about
placement
that.
there.
Oh, sponsoring Eventy. But like, I forgot the train of thought now.
My fault. Sorry.
Yes, pictures of beer on Twitter. It's because I tried to try lots of different beers, and I tweet it not only because I kind of like I'm a self-professed beer fanatic, but also it's a way for me to kind of remember which beers I've had. So I go through my media page on the Twitter and go, which one did I have last week that I really, really liked? And there it is. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one. And then like,
It's like taking It's like taking a picture of where you parked.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the sort of idea we're talking about.
Oh,
So that's why I did it.
Well, you guys got anything else?
I think you're in the dreaded cycle of I can't, end the show because everyone keeps talking about things that are interesting.
Yeah.
If you turn off the stream, it'll help.
Yeah, it probably would help.
I know. I should just. Yeah, I'm gonna end it. Button mashed. I am gonna go out with what I intended to do at the end of the show, which was to replay the opening because I spent some time editing it. You'll notice that it's what was it, Tyrannus trailer, but with no words in it, and it lined up perfectly and it looks great. For all of us that like Eve. Although for us it's dated, we've seen it 1,000 times, so it's probably not as exciting as for new people.
The Tyrannus release?
It's a good trailer, though.
Yeah, Tyrannus. It was my favorite too because one of the voices of the guy, the music was so sweeping and you felt like those were angels or whatever. But one of the guy's voices just got to me, like the guy that says, you have no idea how powerful you are, or something like that. I just thought that was that really like hit me. Not that I felt powerful, but like I kind of get it. Like in Eve, you even if you don't pay attention to the lore, like or you don't know how precious life is. That's what it was. And I could totally relate to that. And the way he said it, I was like, yeah, I'm on board with that. So I always liked that trailer like the best.
I remember that trailer. That was actually the first expansion I was I experienced as it happened, because I started in early 2010, and that was the summer of 2010, right?
Yeah, it was right around that time.
Yeah, I remember, because that was the first I got the Prime. That was my first special ship I ever redeemed as a thing. So yeah.
Zendane, when did you start? I bet early.
2005.
Yeah. So you're right into that early Eve, right? Because that first era, 2003 to 2006 ish.
Yeah, I actually started. Now I had to actually double check myself. I started in 2005. I made a trial account, and then I made another character, played that for a bit, and I kind of didn't understand that you could have more than one character. So I thought, well, now that I know the game, I'm not gonna embarrass myself anymore. I'm gonna make a Zendane. So I made Zendane, and that was 2006.
Wow. I didn't stick with I did keep it, but everybody starts, they get about a few weeks into it, and then they start over. Because then they know how to do it. Yeah. I had the same experience.
You still haven't pressed that button yet.
The button. No. Do you want to go? So we can go.
Yeah, need to go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. All right. Hey, thanks, everybody. We're going to wrap up this thing. We'll maybe do this next time. It's a lot of fun. We have this extra hour, so we'll just go as long as we can, but in a very casual way afterwards. But thanks, guys. We will now go to that trailer we were just talking about, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Oh.
Semnol ka ke mo fa seda.